Hi, everyone. Amazing, amazing, amazing. It's Norman Koshnick here from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnick. We've got the likes of Chris Vernon and a very happy, pretty Upala. I've had some phone issues, but there's been a lot of, there's been a lot of press conferences, a lot of excitement, a lot of trophy giving. It's been a great afternoon and into evening. And now for us, some cases morning, but it's been a magnificent performance. I hate to say it, but I did say to people who listened to the pre-podcast about the fact that Kohli would open the batting, and he did exactly that with Rohit Sharma. And I knew they kept their best to last. They absolutely went nuts. The way that Rohit Sharma started the innings with his 64 was phenomenal. The way that the intent on, England gave it a good crack.
Yes.
To turn, England gave it a good crack, but they were never going to be in the hunt after the start. Virat Kohli not at 80. What an annoying! I want to get 100. Damn it! Anyway, he didn't. But and then the promotion of Hardik Pandya to the batting order was on point. He went nuts. There were some 11 sixes in this innings. That was significant. Rohit Sharma hit 5 sixes. We mustn't forget that. I wouldn't necessarily say the bowling of England was that bad. Chris Jordan was a bit disappointing, I thought. But anyway, but England were admirable in their attempt to get to the score. In most innings, against most teams, they probably would have got the runs, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't match what India did today. India kept the best to last, and the non-inclusion of Rahul was quite spectacular. The inclusion of Natarajan, well, in my opinion, he didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't do wrong at all. But anyway, I was quite impressed with India's performance. What do you guys think?
You go, Chris.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, wasn't it? I don't think you'll get it, but Bhuvi Kumar man the match, hands down, without a doubt. 2 overs for 6 at the top, and then, England were level with India up till the 13th over. I think they were ahead of the game, and looked pretty ominous at one stage. They were certainly in with a mix, and he came on and took a wicket of Butler and bowled, went for 3 and just shifted the whole momentum. So. I think at the start of the series, he's come back from injury, Kumar, and probably some doubts about where his slot in the side is when India are full strength. But I think today he's proven just how good he is, and he'll be trying to get back in that Test side. I think, especially with the tour of England coming up, swinging Duke's balls. He's probably India's best seamer in swinging conditions. He's a brilliant bowler. So another one to add into the list. But look, it's. I think England were slightly under par the ball, possibly missed a spinner. But yeah, just the guys at the top batted well. You say that Kohli should get 100. I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but he just doesn't quite bat fast enough. He tends to like to bat and let the other guys around him build the score, and he sort of anchors the innings, doesn't he? And it was same today, and it was brilliant.
He was close.
How could you not have been batting with Rohit Sharma when the shots he played?
Oh yeah, but I'm saying Kohli just tends to like to anchor, doesn't it? And he played that role perfectly. So fair play. I said yesterday, obviously.
Can I quickly say, you say he anchored around the innings. He scored 80 of 52 deliveries. That isn't exactly what I would say anchoring.
He scored quickly at the end. I think he had 50 or 40 balls though. So he did let the other guys whack it, and you need that. You need that guy at the top to sometimes do that. And he just showed exactly why. He's the best in the world by miles, isn't he?
But I must quickly say, Pandya was given opportunity to bat and bowl in such a prominent way that showed true. Rishabh Pant, you would have thought he would have batted up the order, but they didn't bat him. It's really intriguing. India showed today why they're going to win the World Cup, because They picked the moment. They said, right, Rohit Sharma and Kohli said, right, we're going to take this head on. And he went on air at that stage, Chris, Pretty and Aparna and I talked about that very fact. And I'm afraid I said that Kohli will want to open and he'll want to take it by the scruff of the neck and go out there and score. And he did. He really did. And they very strongly said, right, Rahul, I'm sorry, you haven't done that well. Out you go for the moment. Do you think he'll get back in, Chris? Or Pretty? What do you think?
I think
you have to show his form. Like you mentioned, if he underperforms in the IPL, I don't see a place for him in the World Cup because it's the same format, right?
I think you're right. I think Ishan
He's
Kishan
a bit out of form. Yeah.
Ishan Kishan and Sky have now taken it by the scruff of their neck. And I think that they may well go that way. Now, Chris, I'm not knocking you. You were fantastic with what you said, but you were right about Rahul and Dhawan being the leading run scorers, or IPL, and their positions in the pecking order. But I think they may have been moved aside at the moment, unless they can show incredible form in the IPL. If the form goes the way which we've seen as this match, I think these two guys are going to be, as Nisha Kishan, Sky, and even I will take hold.
I think Sky will be batting at 3 in the World 2020. I still stand by that. I think KL's a better opening bat than Rohit Sharma in 2020 cricket. And, just purely on the stats, Rohit Sharma is one of the best. But I think if Rahul has a good IPL, I think he'll still go open the batting with Rohit Sharma in the World 2020 and Kohli will bat at 3 or 4. I think I'd be amazed if they don't do that. I think that they've got, I've said the whole series that they'd want to have 6 bowlers. And that's what they did today. Kohli said at the toss that they wanted to balance their side better. So he's either been listening into the podcast or he was thinking the same thing. So, but no, I think Nats Duran looked a bit rusty. It's a very difficult.
Well, of course,
game.
it was his first game in Yonks. I mean, it's not like it's a shock.
Absolutely, but he's just a guy that's going to learn to get better. I watched him bowl. I haven't seen a lot of him bowl, and I don't think he's ahead of the other guys that they've got at the moment. He might go and have a good IPL and pick up some experience, but Shardul Thakur, who is probably similar position in the squad. They're probably both good World Cup squad players. I wouldn't say that either of them are shoe-in to play in the first game. You wouldn't say that they're not a Bumrah that's picked, without a doubt. So, there's a lot on this IPL. I didn't know if you've seen, but the Telegraph in the UK have written today that they think Jofra Archer will pull out of the IPL. To nurse his injury and protect his Test career, to lengthen his Test career. So, you get a lot of these articles in newspapers, but the the Telegraph in England is certainly one of the most respected, and that's what they've reported today. So that'll be massive if he decides that.
Do you really think that he'll do that?
That's what the headline was: Archer likely to pull out of the IPL to keep himself fit for the Ashes and England this year.
But can I be rude to say, based on what? Has Archer said that himself, or are they just assuming?
Well, it's like the Washington Post reporting something like that there's basis to these things. You get these sort of rag newspapers that do make stuff up, but the big, well-respected newspapers, there's often some basis for it. I'm not saying they're not saying that he will definitely, but there's obviously something talked about, and this shoulder injury, elbow injury is clearly a worry for him. And I think.
Okay, my only thoughts on that immediately are that's a logical thing to do. It doesn't mean it's necessarily been said by Archer himself, and that doesn't mean it's sensationalism or speculation. It is quite possible that he may. I think the IPL franchise that has him will probably think the other way. They'll think, we want you to come, and he may be lessened in terms of how much he plays, but they'll still want him to come because he's a bit of a box office situation. Let's be honest. Like you would have Gale or anyone else in the team. If he's just floating around the bench, playing very occasionally, and just prancing around on the bench, I'll tell you what, that's worth its money in itself.
So ESPN Cricinfo today. Headline: Jofra Archer likely to miss first half of the IPL. Fast bowler set to return to England after the 2020 series against England as he awaits. But Archer is likely to miss the first half of the IPL to to rest and to recover from an elbow injury that kept him out. So that's ESPN have reported that today. So
Okay.
that's pretty massive news. That's for the Rajasthan Royals. That's in already probably one of the weaker sides. You know, I think they came in the bottom 2 or 3 to miss the guy that was player of the tournament last year. They need to fill that void. So
okay, he may go back there for scans, work furiously on the injury, and come back and still play.
Possibly, from what's been said, it's not. From what it's been said and suggested in the press, it's not. He is injured and he has to miss it. It is he wants to rest it and to make sure he's fit to play for England.
Okay,
that's slightly different. That's what's been reported.
No, okay. Look, I'm respecting that, but I'm sorry. What I know about Archer so far in his career, I'm not knocking the guy. There's been a striving of money, and he has a certain bent on money, and I think you might find that he may.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. Like the guy plays in the IPL. You know that he earns $1.5 million a year playing central contract for England. He earns more money a year playing for England than he does in the IPL. So, you know, hard to say.
He's on $1.5 million.
They all want the money. It's their job. They all want the money.
I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying to you, there are some players that have an attitude like you're describing, where they would always prefer other forms of cricket over IPL. I don't know whether Archer necessarily is that way. That's all.
To be fair, it's not. That's just media representation of him. Every time he's interviewed, he says, "I want to play Test cricket for England. That's all I want to do." So because he's been
advised by. What's the name of the ball?
I'm saying he's come through the IPL, like a lot of the Indian guys. He's sort of been made in that competition and these 2020 competitions, but. You know, he's made it very clear, and if he does this to rest, it shows his intentions. You know, he earns more money playing for England a year than he does in the IPL. So, you know, a central contract's worth more than probably his IPL gig with endorsements and stuff. So
that's not necessarily the way that most contracts work. Let's be honest. Most central contracts, as you're describing it, are not outweighing an IPL contract.
No, but if he was to play in the IPL this year and bust his arm and not play for England again and lose a central contract, then that's, you know, more money. That's a long-term view, isn't it?
Fair enough. Okay, all right. I'm just not saying I'm not ruling him out of playing IPL at all this season. Not yet. Okay. 2 things. We talked about Dawood Malan. I think Pri and I talked about Dawood Malan as well earlier. He proved today that he should be in the side. He scored a very commendable 68 off, some 46 deliveries, got 9 fours and 2 sixes. The reality is he, under normal circumstances, may have won the game for them.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree? I mean, Josh Butler's innings was equally as dramatic. He scored some 4 sixes. They had a very good partnership. Jason Roy got out early. That's neither here nor there. I tell you what, both Stokes, Alan Morgan's not had a good series. He hasn't had many opportunities to bat, but he didn't. Perhaps he himself should have batted earlier in the innings in a previous match, I believe. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Like he's only batted 3 times now in the series. The other 2 games when England won, we didn't bat. So it's just. You're coming and needing 12, 13, 14 and over. You've just got to have a swing at it, haven't you? You've got no chance to have a look. Good. I think it was by far the best wicket, in terms to bat on. It was a really good wicket, and I think the Indian fans in general will be pleased because they're the wickets they want to see for the IPL and the World Cup. It was a really, really good wicket, and it's tough, isn't it? Like you're chasing 220. I thought England batted very well. Butler and Malan looked good. Malan's record in that format, he's played 24 games and got 10 50s and 100 in 24 games for England in 2023. It's staggeringly good.
But he showed today that he's worthy of being in the top 1, 2, 3.
He's going to play. He should play 10, 15 games in the IPL on those wickets, so he's only going to get better. The best players in the world adapt and improve. Like we saw with Hardik Pandya, he clearly has seen what England's tactics were to him, and he adapted his stance and his ability to hit the shorter ball. So all these players adapt. I don't think anyone in England or anyone in the English press was ever doubting that Darren Milan's awesome and he'll be there in the World Cup without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just think that he certainly proved his worth today. But Rohit Sharma's performance, I thought he was going to score 150 the way he was playing.
Yeah.
He absolutely set the tone. I would argue that I'm just trying to look at the.
Well, that's why they call him the Hitman.
Yeah.
He's a
exactly.
machine.
They're giving Kumar the player of the match, and they're giving Kohli the player of the series.
Beautiful. I'm so happy for Bhuvi.
So you got Kumar the player of the match and player of the series of Virat Kohli, but Rohit Sharma could easily be worthy of giving him the man of the match as well. Why? He didn't score the most runs, but he set the tone of the innings, and I think that was extremely important. But look, I'm marveling over Sharma more. His drives were absolutely exquisite. They were just superb, don't you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think Dinesh Karthik was on the studio and he said that when he plays straight or hits off the front foot down the ground, that's when you know he's in form. And there's no doubt that how good a player he is. Do you think that he would just hope with the IPL coming up that he can do it a little bit more consistently? Like he's had a couple of, for a guy that is awesome, let's face it, he's one of the best. He's had a couple of quietish years in the IPL. Do you think that this year he's probably wants to go out and win the orange hat?
Yes.
Is it the orange hat,
yes.
the purple cap, whichever one is, and just be a little bit more consistent? Because that's what the best players do. They look at KL Rahul last year. Literally every game was getting 40s and 50s, and I think that's the only thing that Rohit will want to do. But yeah, he's brilliant. When he's on form, there's no one better, is it? And Kohli and Sharma, if they continue to open the batting, are probably one of the best, if not the best, opening combinations in the world, aren't they? So.
Well, yet again, they've proven the theory 2 games in a row to lose the toss and win the match. Now, and Chris, I'm not trying to pull your thoughts down, but you did say very clearly about that, and I agreed with you. But I tell you what, India have just proven that, regardless of the state of the pitch, is not relevant.
Yeah.
The fact remains that they proved it emphatically.
I think that the pitch factors, just because I think on a better surface, because the last 2 games have been really, really good proper wickets. I think the first 3 were a bit slower, a bit up and down, so the dew has less effect. In the first games, when the pitch is up and down, the dew just zips it. Then again, I think if Owen Morgan played a game tomorrow and he won the toss, he'd field again. I don't think there's any doubt in their minds that and Kohli said the toss today, he said we would have bowled first. He said not fun, we don't mind batting first, but he said we would have bowled first if we won the toss. So it's still a tactic and still what they do. It's the way the modern game is that they all prefer chasing.
I'm not talking about tactics here. I'm talking about the ability for India to win a game in both positions, whether they're won or lost.
There's no doubt that both sides can win a game doing it. It's just what they prefer to do.
I'll put it out there that if England had batted first, India would have won the match.
I agree.
Possibly, but we don't know that. Possibly, we don't know. So it's impossible to say.
Well, I'm afraid it's clear.
It's clear
after today's match, and I'm saying this very clearly. They said, right, guys, it's time. We're going to put a stamp of authority. They're going to thump the other side, and they did thump them. Even though England batted commendably to get 180, they were thumped. Shardul Thakur also bowled admirably well. He is clearly showing his worth. So is Kumar. Now, and in particular, Pandya. Kohli said, right, mate, this is your day. We're going to throw you the ball and bat early, and he did not disappoint. The reality was he scored the most runs of the least amount of balls out of all 4 batsmen. If I can look at the stats correctly. Sharma scored 64 of 34, and Pandya scored 39 of 17. So effectively, Pandya went quicker than Rohit Sharma. I didn't get that impression, but he did. So he was 229, Pandya, and bowled 4 very commendable overs. The guy, almost all of the summer that we've seen, I'm talking about the Test series, he was held back, everything. It was almost like he was held back for this very moment when he proved his weight in gold. He is, I mean, Ben Stokes didn't exactly disappoint this series, but he did score 14 off 12 at a time when he needed to explode. He didn't have much of a chance, but still, I thought that the way that India bowled that particular moment in time was quite commendable. All round, whether it's Sharma, Sky, Kohli, Pandya, the fact that Punt didn't play a significant part of this match is a bit hard to believe. And then you've got the bowlers of Kumar and Shardul, and probably when the likes of Bumrah come back in with even a Shami or a Jadeja, India have got everything's blowing like a gale, not Chris Gale, but blowing like a gale, at a point in time when they really needed it. This was a final, and India approached that way on home soil. Heaven forbid what's going to happen in the World Cup. It's going to take a lot to beat India in that World Cup. If India play like and we were disappointed with India at many stages of this series. England played particularly well. But the very match that truly counted today, India stood up. And I commend overwhelmingly the way that Kohli approached this. He said, right, if anyone's going to do it, I'm going to do it. And he did it. And he would have been revving up Rohit Sharma as well. He would have had a bomb under him saying, you're going to do it today as well. And they would have been out. And if you watch carefully the way that those two were talking when they were out there, I don't know whether you noticed that. When they walked out to the pitch, the way that Kohli was in Rohit Sharma's ear, he said, mate, time to show your worth, pal. Chris?
Absolutely.
I think there was a significant bomb up Sharma as well from Kohli.
Well, he was having a word with everybody, even the bowlers, after they didn't have such a good over. So he was very sort of assertive. Look, if they play like this, they're unbeatable. For the World
There's
Cup,
no
they will
doubt.
be.
I mean, Chris, England haven't got a hope if India take the scruff of the neck like this, even though that England are capable of doing very well. And I dare say that their performance in most days, they would have probably beaten any other side. But they played against India, not just in red hot form, but form that's peaking at the right moment.
Yeah, I don't disagree that when they play well, that they're really hard to beat. But to say they're basically going to cruise the World Cup is pretty mad.
No one's saying that.
Hang on, did I say that?
No one's saying that.
I said
if England play at their best and India, it's a very close game. If England were a bit under par today, they didn't bowl very well. They collapsed a bit in the middle order. For large portions of that game, up to probably the 14th over, England were very, very close, and it just a good over from Bhuvi and a couple from won the game. And that's India playing really well, and England competed for probably 70% of that game. So, to say that if they play, of course, if England play at their best in the World Cup, they'll win it. If India play at their best, they'll win it. If Australia turn up and play at their best, they've got a good chance of winning as well. There's so many good sides in the world.
Australia have got no hope in hell of winning this World Cup.
I agree.
They could be struggling to make the semi-finals. I'm telling you right now,
It's
Australia.
It's just one-off games. It's not. You're not playing a 5-match series. All it takes is Glenn Maxwell to have one good game, and they'd beat anyone.
It's beyond that, Chris. It's mindset, attitude, vision.
They're all switched on. All these players are going to be revved up to play for their country in a World Cup, and it's a knockout tournament. It's the same as anything. Every team has got players that can win a game of cricket, and in a World Cup, in a 2020 World Cup, it's a shootout. It's a short, quick format.
No, but it's levels, and some have its next level, and you can't get to that level. I think that's what they showed.
India today, but hang on, India today did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They're going to say, right,
yes,
this is our stage. This is a final. Let's crucify the other side. And the way those two opening, Rohit Sharma, in my opinion, they should open the batting all the time, these two. But they won't. But they should. Kohli batted out of his skin. He lifted that side. The other three went nuts too. But it was Kohli's presence out there the entire 20 overs. Okay? And that is extremely significant. The way, I'd love to have got a stump mic to hear what he was saying to Rohit Sharma. He said, mate, get your finger out and put a big, I want to see you. I'm not going to accept anything less than over the top from you. And Rohit Sharma was a man possessed. I mean,
Yeah.
if he didn't get out, he could have scored 200.
Yeah, he was a man on a mission. I've never seen him like that before.
Now, Chris just laughed when I said 200. Let me go back.
You said if he didn't get out. Well, yeah, but if Josh Butler didn't get out, he would have got 150. What a ridiculous.
My crystal ball,
No.
my crystal ball said, I said very early, I said, don't be surprised if Virat Kohli opens the batting. What happened?
You did.
Yeah,
Don't be surprised if Rohit Sharma puts his best batting performance on today. He did. Okay? I tell you right now. I also said Nata Rajat, and you said, well, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I
No,
said Rahul was going to be dropped.
He would. I said if he's injured, I think that. But he's
he wasn't injured.
If the moon's in the backyard of Satan, this would have happened. We could have said all sorts of rubbish.
You're the one saying it.
But I'm just saying, my crystal ball. Rohit Sharma 147, not out. 161. Norman Kochnick saying that Virat Kohli will open the batting. I'm afraid not.
I didn't say that. I think he did.
You weren't on air then, so you can't finish. You're lucky.
You're saying that I laughed it when I wasn't even on air. So I laughed in my card.
I could feel this presence of Chris Vernon was floating around the screen, and I could see you going. I wish I had the IT ability to put your face when I was saying that. Now, let's be honest, Pretty. Did you think that in the back of your mind when I said Virat Kohli? I think he'll be opening the batting today.
Well, I said they'll. Well, later on, I was like, okay, they're going to cross 200. But I said I see both of them making 50s, which they did. And I thought, didn't I tell you? I just feel it. They're gonna have a high score. They're gonna go for it, and they did it.
And the reality is that if you look at the early broadcasts, some guys cricket lovers in Australia were going nuts about Virat Kohli today. Unabashed were going for it, and they were also spot on. They thought he would score 100. A young Sam Carter said he would score 100. He scored 80. Geez, I'm so annoyed that he didn't score 100. I thought this was his day. As soon as I went over the batting,
he'll get it in the World Cup. You watch. He'll get it at the opportune time. You know.
Look, Chris, England deserved to be there. They played fantastically. They played fantastically.
Yes.
They didn't challenge. It was a game that I think you and I talked about it, and others about the fact that we thought that England should perhaps take the scruff and actually bat first. Remember, it's win a toss and bat first rather than we actually talked about that. In retrospect, England perhaps needed to do that. And even today, Josh Butler could have done a Rohit Sharma and Milan could have done a Virat Kohli and scored 224 and made it difficult for India. Mm-hmm. Chris, I actually think that was what was needed because the England bowlers may have bowled better with a target in mind, as in not a target, with a target to defend in mind. I actually think there's a lot of credibility for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were on their way to doing that, honestly. But, a few bad overs and then a few wickets and suddenly you lose the momentum, and under pressure is very hard to bounce back.
Chris, just your thoughts on that? I mean, look, this is not a... Ahmed Shrivastava said stop. Ahmed Shrivastava said stop, Norman. Chris is about to cry. I'm not agreeing with that comment at all, but I thought I would. In fact, I might just bring it up, guys, just in case we're not seeing it. This is worthy of a screenshot. I'll give it a screenshot. No, I want to. That's a certain shot that I think. Oh, so I'm finding it hard to get rid of that sticker, Chris. I don't know how. How do I get rid of it? Can anyone tell me how to get rid of that sticker? I don't know how to get rid of it.
No, that's all good. It's just there.
You're having a good day, Norman.
All sides' tactic pretty much is to chase, and if we played again tomorrow and England won the toss and chased and lost, and they played the day after, Owen Morgan win the toss and he'd chase. That's what they do. He backed his ability.
I can't. I'm not knocking that, but I'm not knocking that, and that's a fair comment because in a lot of cases they're going to beat most sides, but they need to experience the other and take the bull by the horns and actually try it. That's what I'm saying to you.
But they've had lots of experience doing it. This is I think between them, England, this is the first 2020 series they've lost in 7. It's India's unbeaten in 8. They're by far and away the best two. And, with the World Cup in mind, you just have to play and you have to have a bit of luck on your side. look at the World Cup in 2016. You know, India had a very similar side with the best side in the tournament, and the West Indies beat them in the semi because
No,
two
no,
of their
I
guys
don't deny that.
And that's what I'm saying about a World Cup knockout is that on their day, anyone can beat anyone, regardless of how well you play in the 8 games before it or on. You know, India got 200 in that semi-final and the West Indies chase. So it's not like India play poorly. It's just sides have the ability to beat, and that's the beauty of why 2020 cricket is it's a bigger free-for-all in a way, because it's the shorter form of the game. It's more variance. There's a bit more. It's harder for the better sides to stamp their dominance because it's a shorter, quicker format, and all it takes to see today is one good over from a bowler chasing a big score, and it changes the game over. So
I'm not denying. No, of course, Pakistan could come out, West Indies come out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry, I haven't seen the result of the Indian legends and Sri Lankan legends. Can someone tell me the result of that?
I haven't. It's not been on telly here at all. I've not followed it, so I wouldn't have even known who was in the final if you'd said.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. I'll get on that in a minute. When you go, Chris, I'll talk about that. The reality is that everyone stayed up for this particular show, I think, as well, by the way, where we're smashing these numbers. And I actually believe my iPhone IT lateness has allowed us to actually get a better time slot. So I'm glad that we did that. We didn't have to rush. It annoys me when some programs try to be the first to be on after the game. You know what? Yeah. People want to savor the moment. They want to probably dance around the lounge room and have a very simple.
I was watching the post-match ceremony while we were waiting, and I'm glad we did that because in other times we have not done that, right? So it's nice to watch that, and I think the fans want to watch that. They want to know they want to hear the speeches, want to know who got the man of the match, and then they want to go to their favorite podcast and listen to what these commentators have to say. That you have to leave a little gap. You can't go.
I actually think we shouldn't be teaching other programs that, but that's actually right. If people want to come to listen to us talk, they're not going to bed tonight. There'll be a lot of partying going on in India. I tell you what, that was so.
We've been partying all year.
Chris, India's had an absolute renaissance throughout Australia and this particular so far. ODI still to come, but I tell you what, that was so damn emphatic. That was a thumping. The opening overs, they scored 94 of 8.3 overs. That is,
and the last few overs, they got 54 runs or something, and I mean, really good without losing wickets. That's really
I believe a T20 innings, it's more important how you start than how you finish.
Absolutely.
Because if you start well, everything else becomes cream. The bowling attacks on the back foot every time. And Chris says, what was that hit?
If on that theory, then England were the better side today because England were ahead after 10 overs.
A few runs. It was 5 runs. Come on, it wasn't. It wasn't 30 runs. Yeah.
No, but hang on. I'm saying they mentally cannot maintain what they did in the innings, and it happened. Yeah. The reality is when you're. I'm talking.
They started well. The point was
they started fantastically. They're the second best side in in the overall rankings for a reason. So yes, they started well. So both Milan and Butler are critical players. To pity Roy didn't get more of a go. The reality is actually that's literally where they lost the match. Okay, forgetting India's 220, they lost the match because Roy got out second ball. Even though they recovered quite substantially, you need to have an opening pair go nuts. You really do. And I believe that's the way you win this match. And look, I was just blown away with what I saw. Heaven forbid if Rohit Sharma and say Kohli did not get out altogether. Rohit Sharma would have been on 150.
Wow.
Rohit Sharma was in this motor that, I mean, admittedly, Pandya actually got more runs per. But if you put I think it's not Kohli. I think Sharma would have went to even another level. He would have been hitting at a higher rate towards the end of the innings, a crescendo. He would have gotten incredibly out of hand, and Kohli would have been there to join it. So Kohli, my God, it's not going to happen. But if Kohli out in the batting every damn innings, and was in that mode. Heaven help oppositions, but he's not going. He's going to drop himself back. But when it counted, he pushed, not pushed, but Ishan Kashan, although he was injured, Sky, this person, Darwan, Rahul, all those players were pushed out of the way. Kohli went to the front and he did it. And that's why he is what he is. The man's just phenomenal. And he hasn't scored 100 yet. I'm almost so frustrated. I wish he would have, if this was his day, Perhaps if Rohit Sharma didn't explode the way he did, Kohli may have taken that upper hand. It may have happened. But the off and on drives, or mostly off and straight drives of Sharma were absolutely exquisite against two bowlers, namely Wood and Archer, who are probably the best two opening bowlers at the moment in terms of pace and accuracy and general effort. I would argue if you could put Cotton around Wood and Archer, they weren't injured, you've got the best two. Chris, would you agree?
I think that Mark Wood has a lot of questions. He's struggled a bit in the IPL when he's played. He's quick, he's hostile, but he's quite one-dimensional. On the slower wickets at the start of the season, or the ones that don't come onto the bat, and he's harder to play. On the wicket, like this one with a bit of pace on it, it can just be, and they showed it today that he's easier. So England have got a problem. It's been well documented for a while that England's problem is the bowling and taking wickets in the power play. They've addressed that this series. Apart from today, they've had good power plays in every game. So they need to work out that they've got stuff to work on. As I said, this series, I think for both sides was a fact-finding mission as much as anything. Obviously, both sides have been desperate to win, and India deserved to win in the end. But I think that they were still working out things for the World Cup. There's bigger and better things. And, Owen Morgan has said from the start that he wants to play his guys to have experience on sort of the slower sort of wickets. And he's had that they've had a bit of time at the middle. So I'm unsure on Wood. I think he's very good and I think he'll play. But I think they need to address fifth bowler. I think I'll be playing Moeen Ali. I think that he just adds a bit of variety in there.
So you're saying Moeen Ali at the expense of who?
Probably Chris Jordan. I would imagine they like Chris Jordan. He's a specialist. Sam Curran offers a bit, but if Sam Curran's only going to bowl one over, I would probably drop him because Chris Jordan, he'll bowl 4 overs a game.
I was very disappointed with Chris Jordan today. Very disappointed. In fact, I was a bit disappointed with him the previous match. He fell off the cliff a little bit with his bowling. He bowled some absolute rubbish. Mind you, he was getting tonked by Rohit Sharma. It was a couple of short balls.
Apart from the catch, that's one of the best catches you'll ever see.
That was the most. But I love the reaction of who was it? Was it Roy?
Jason Roy's first.
He's going to be recorded as Court Roy bowled.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the
Jason
biggest.
Roy's taken the best catch ever that he hasn't done anything.
It was so casual. It was so casual. He just basically put his hand there and even had the audacity to throw it back in. I mean, I'm surprised because he actually landed it inside the ground. He did not land inside the ground. A lot of players would have taken it, thrown it up in the air, and run back on the field and caught it again. But he threw it straight to Roy, didn't he? That's what was about. I mean, a lot of players, having taken a great catch, would work like hell to make sure it's in their name. But Roy standing there, went into his hands, and Roy was laughing his guts out, thinking, "Oh, that was the easiest catch I've ever taken." It was a freak. It was a real freak. And again, where would the innings have been if they'd continued that way with Sky and bat too? I mean, he was some of those. They weren't what would you call them scoop shots? They were borderline scoop shots he was playing. Were remarkable. They were remarkable. I mean, India, for God's sake, oh my God, their batting score. I'm sorry, even though England got a better effort in their innings at the beginning, as you were saying statistically. There's that moment early on, I thought, England are gone. England would have been thinking the same thing, even though they worked their guts out to just prove that. They were gone. Really. I mean, in India scored 30 runs more than they should have, based on the statistics of the whole series.
And that was the difference, right? That was all that was needed to beat them. 35 runs.
So imagine if India have scored 179, right? The first thing, I probably feel that England may have run it down. Okay, I do. Even though India would have adjusted their bowling accordingly to be a lot
that's
more
right.
economic. I think England would have run that down, but they had no hope in hell of getting 220 plus. No hope in hell.
Yeah, they didn't get complacent even though they had crossed 200, right? In the last couple of overs, they went for it. And that's where they got those runs and those extra 25 big, even if it was, even if they had only got 100, 210, mentally that's achievable. But
I mean, there's so many.
225 was a fantastic score.
Who would have put Pandya ahead of Punt? Chris, would you have put Pandya ahead of Punt in that batting situation?
I don't know. It's close, isn't it? I think that Pandya is better against the seamers. I think that Pant's a better player of spin.
Yeah.
And I think that Hardik's a more destructive player than Pant in a different way. I think that at that sort of time of the innings, the leg spin had finished. So Pant's probably, it looks sometimes against the seamer, Pant likes to have a little bit of a look at it and doesn't go from ball one, whereas I think Hardik has the ability to sort of lock and load from ball one. So, I mean, I think that either of them, I think if you'd sent Shirazir in, he would have done similar. And I think that they were in the zone, weren't they? And they all.
But they gave it to Pandya. The credit where credit's due. They gave it to Pandya, and he did it.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
delivered. He's very aggressive,
But you got Kohli and Pandya have got a great relationship, and so is Sharma and Pandya. Kohli and Raj Sharma think overwhelmingly of Hardik Pandya, and they kept him on cotton wool for the entire Test series, and they could have been tempted to use him both in Australia and England. They've held him back because they know where his bread is buttered, and it was buttered for this match. I
disagree with you there completely. If he was fit, he wasn't fit in the Test series because he would have played. They've not sat there all summer in the Test series and said we're going to wait and just keep him for the one days. They would have rather.
He was injured. That's why he was in cotton wool.
You said you said they've held him back on purpose, which means that they didn't play him when he was fit.
No, I said cotton wool. Cotton wool is you only bring cotton wool out when you're injured. You don't bring cotton wool out because you're not injured.
You said they held him back on purpose, is what you said.
I think what he's trying to say is that they completely back him and they believe in him and they know that he's going to deliver when needed.
If he's fully fit and raring to go, you play him. But they knew, held him back because he was injured. Cotton wool is not something you bring out unless you've got an injury or you're out there putting some extra makeup on. Okay, so that's what I meant, Chris. You've twisted my words there.
I haven't.
We're going to go back and we're going to have a look at what I said. And I said
you said they held him back
because he was injured. I didn't say that we used the word injured.
You're not holding him back, are you? You're not holding him back. If you're holding someone back, it means that he has the ability to do it, but you're choosing him not to. There was no choice.
You took me out of context. I actually meant what I didn't mean to say, and that's the truth. Okay.
Fine. I understand what you meant, but they didn't sit there in the Test series going.
You understand what I meant. You understand what I meant, but then you're not so agreeing with me then.
You know what I'm saying? Kohli and Sharma weren't sat there in the Test series going, we could play Hardik, but let's keep him fit. Let's just leave him for the 2020 series.
I'll tell you right now, they didn't need him in the Test series. Both Test series. Yeah. They didn't need him.
I agree.
Maybe they may have risked him if they needed him. Okay, they may have. Okay, and the reality is they need him for the World Cup. They need a spinning all-rounder is never going to cut over a medium pace / fast all-rounder. I'm telling you now. Do we call Hardik Pandya a bowling all-rounder or a batting all-rounder?
That's tricky. In one-day cricket, he's a batting all-rounder. In Test cricket, I'm not sure. I think in Test cricket, and I'm going to get told off, I don't think either discipline is good enough to be. So how they define a quality all-rounder is someone who would be picked on one of them alone. Like Jadeja, if you take his batting out, would play as a bowler. If you take his bowling out, could play as a batter. In Test cricket, I don't think. Say Hardik wasn't bowling, they wouldn't pick him as a specialist batter. And if he wasn't batting, I don't think they'd pick him as a specialist bowler. So combined, he's brilliant. And he's going to have a big part to play in England. But I think that he needs to. Yeah, I think you understand what I'm saying.
I think it's excellently said, Chris. And it's an excellent summation of Hardik Pandya. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The reality is, I think the best all-rounder version in the world is someone that actually doesn't stand out in one or the other, that is equally as valuable in both. That is the term all-rounder. And a batting all-rounder, a bowling all-rounder, I begin to doubt that they are truly an all-rounder.
Yeah.
I guess it
If you
depends
have
how
to
good
put
they
batting
are
or
at
bowling in
either or
front.
both, isn't it? Like Jack Callis, who would say was a batting all-rounder, averaged
doubt.
60 in Test cricket.
No doubt.
Yeah, so and he was the best, but only because one of his skills is so far better than the other, if that makes sense. So,
but if Cullis never bowled, we would laud over Cullis as a great player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
that's completely. Yeah.
So that's my point. Ian Botham is one of the most genuine all-rounders we've ever had. Okay,
but it was probably a bowling all-rounder though. Compared, his bowling was better than his batting. Took 400 Test wickets.
How many runs did he score? 300.
383, I think it was, wasn't it? Well, he scored plenty of runs, but his better asset was his bowling. Both were brilliant, but I think that his bowling was slightly. He was an opening bowler. He started as an opening bowler, and his batting got better as he got older. I think would be fair to probably say.
Okay. But on that basis, if you would look statistically at both, which I have done quite a bit, and having spoken to Merv Richards and Viv Richards when I had my brief moments with him in my life, what Botham's was influenced heavily by Viv Richards.
Yeah, they were good friends. Played at Somerset together.
Yeah, they were in the rooms together when they were very much at the early stage of their career. And what Viv used to tell him was, "Don't forget your batting, pal. Don't forget your batting." And that, if you listen to any tapes of those two talking, the major influence, because Viv Richards was a damn handy off spinner.
Yeah.
Viv Richards could well have made himself into an off spinner alone. Of course, he didn't do that, but you would argue there's a lot going on there. Viv Richards' influence on Ian Botham was profound, and the one thing about Botham's batting, how many games did Botham take the match and win as his batting effort over his bowling effort? That's a stat you need to look at, and you will find, despite the fact that Botham was probably a better bowler, he won more matches for England with the bat than he did with the ball. The bowling coincided with his batting, but there were very few matches where Botham came on and took a 5 for 6 and that won in the match alone. You'll find that his batting was pronounced and his bowling was also excellent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that just means that he had more of an impact in big games. That doesn't mean he was a better batter than he was a bowler.
No. But I mean,
Andrew Flintoff was probably the same. He had more match-winning impacts with the bat, you would argue, than the ball. But he was a far better bowler than he was a batter. Okay. He just had the ability to be all-rounders just are destructive, aren't they? And when they come off, they can play a destructive innings. Whereas I think bowlers, you get 3 or 4 wickets and win a game, whereas batters stick out in a run chase because they got 80 or 40 balls. It's easier to, like Boothie, like today, if you look at the scorecard, it will say Kohli 80 not out, Sharma 64, Pandya 40, and then it will say Kumar 2 for 15. You'd notice the runs a lot more, and you would probably glaze over the 2 for 15 because you just go, when you got 2 for, how does a 2-wicket haul win a game? So it's like, I think runs wise stick out because it's a lot more obvious on a scorecard or looking back at runs or quick runs or destructive batting performance, isn't it?
Okay. Again, the impacting all-rounders in world history, certainly both of them. You would argue, Ben Stokes is right up there.
Yeah.
Then Flintoff. And England are notoriously good at bringing in all-rounders. Probably the best all-rounder player comes out of England than any other country in the world, I would argue. Australia tried to do that. I'm never going to include Shane Watson in that breath, I'm sorry. But I tell you what, Sir Garfield Sobers can arrest the game.
The best 3 by miles, and we're not even in the same category of Sobers, Callis, and Botham. I don't think that those 3 are just country mile. And you got Dennis Lilly as well, who was pretty damn special.
Dennis Lilly is an all-rounder.
I think so. He would be classed
as an all-rounder. Dennis Lilly is an all-rounder.
No, Richard Hadley. Sorry, Richard Hadley.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, not Dennis Lilly. Okay. Yes, but I'm afraid he just didn't have the right conditions to show his best. His team didn't go close enough to win enough matches for him to be in that situation, to be honest. He didn't get the support of his team as much as he should have. Okay.
I meant
the number one all-rounder in the world was Sir Garfield Sobers. Why? Because he won matches with the bat and the ball. Bat and ball. Both of them was right up there because he was very, very close to that. You might argue that he had more batting than bowling victories. Puts him at number 2. Jack Cullis, you're going to not like this, even though his statistics show he had a great all-rounder capability, he didn't win at anywhere nearly as many games bowling.
That's right.
He was nowhere near the other 2. Nowhere near them.
Mm-hmm.
Took a lot of wickets, but nowhere near. Cullis took 5 and won the match. Never happened. Never happened. Okay? His batting, certainly on a number of occasions. And that's why I wouldn't even rank Cullis in the same breath. I would definitely say, statistically, you have to. I understand that. We have to. But in terms of the job of an all-rounder, and I'll make this very clear, is to win matches. The best all-rounders win matches. The best batters win matches. That's why Tendulkar's not in the same league as a Viv Richards, because Tendulkar did not win matches. That is the key. I'm not talking about one day on T20. I'm talking about Test cricket. The most difficult thing is to come out and arrest a match and win matches. That's why a guy like Ben Stokes and Rishabh Pant, if they continue to have the careers they're having, could well start to push on that issue in the future. In particular, Stokes. Number 1 is Garfield Sobers. Number 2 is Botham. Then there's Daylight, despite Cullis's records. And I'm very, very clear on this. And anyone with any good judgment will tell you that they win matches. And this is where someone like Pandya, or he didn't necessarily win the match today, but he made a significant contribution when it counted in both formats. And he is also a potential person to do that in the future as well, depending on his fitness. But I would argue, again, Garfield's was 100 miles ahead. Both pushed that limit very closely. Third is going to be a Stokes or a Punt if they keep their noses clean. Okay, I really sincerely. Australia had a lot of very good all-rounders, but none of them. Shane wants to win a match. My God, no way. He was too busy trying to go like that when it came to a decision on his LBWs to do that. I'm sorry.
I think it's tough for Pant. Listen, Joe, I'm not arguing he's not great, but I don't think keepers can be included in the same. Like, because you'd say Dhoni or Gilchrist, or there's some unbelievable players that I just don't think. Although you can technically class them as all-rounders, I don't think you can keep them in that. I don't think you can compare Dhoni to both of them, for example. I think you have to keep slightly separate. But,
no, I totally agree. I'm just saying in terms of the modern-day concept of an all-rounder, seems to include them. If you carry the drinks well and bowl, that you're included. I'm sorry, I'm being flippant, but the reality
it's very tricky to compare people of different generations as well. You can only, even in other sports, it's so tricky to do that.
Well, Pretty, you go and watch videos of Sir Garfield Sobers play, and your jaw will drop. The guy could bat and bowl. When he felt that he was wanting to do it, he just flicked the switch.
I think he opened the bowling quick and then came on and bowled spin.
Exactly.
It's like Jasprit Bumrah bowling 8 overs of seam and then coming and bowling off spin. But you wouldn't do that these days.
The game has evolved.
Game's changed.
In so many ways. So what is required of the players has changed a lot too. And
I don't think I know Norman's a fan, but you can't. I refuse point blank to include Andrew Flintoff in great all-rounder discussions.
Fair enough. But
he's a cult hero in England for having that 2005 Ashes series. But as a career, his stats are average. They're okay. They're nothing special.
So
I'll accept that, but okay. But you can't. Sir Garfield Sobers is like Bradman in terms of history. He's never going to be compared. Never.
No.
Ian Botham was magical. I'm sorry, he was absolutely magical. When he wanted to, he put another foot on it and bang, he did it.
Talismanic, aren't they? A lot of these all-rounders, Sobers. Botham, I would say that Sobers was better, but I think that Botham had bigger, like he was more of a talisman for that England side. Look what he did in that 1981 Ashes series when he won a game following on. He took 5 for 1 at in the next test, like Edgbaston. I think Botham had more, because Sobers would have played in one of the best test sides ever, wouldn't he? And played in that strong West Indies side, whereas Botham kind of dragged an England side through an Ashes series on numerous occasions. So good all-rounders. Imran Khan's another one we haven't really spoken about. Obviously,
No, he was a leader as well as an all-rounder. I was up there. He would probably be 3 or 4, probably 4. Okay.
Him and Kapil were quite similar, weren't they?
Yeah, they're in the top 10. They're in the top 10, absolutely. But Sobers both them by a country mile. Okay,
Yeah,
Callis because of statistics will probably be 3rd. But okay, let's just take that back, flip it, and say right, best all-rounder who won the most matches on their performance on the day. It is Sobers, Botham, no one. Okay.
And everyone else.
Do you think that Sobers won more tests? No, like if you noted now how many match-winning performances for Sobers, do you think that Botham had a bigger match-winning? Sobers was more consistently good at both, but Botham had more.
Botham probably would win it. Yes, I think Botham would probably win out on that one. I think you might be right, purely on that. But Sobers is still well above him. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I think that they're two of the best. They're the best two, aren't they?
But Pandya, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say he's definitely going to be, but there's an appreciation.
In white ball cricket, I think he's got a long way in Test cricket to go before he can.
Yeah. But if you look at some of his early Test performances, he did change the course of the match on his own. Okay, he was significant. Something's gone wrong with Pandya's fitness. I think that's where the crucial issue is here. And I'm sad to say maybe that's what's going to be the final decision. I've just got a report from Google. Google's telling me that India won by 36 runs. It's funny how Google now getting.
Hello, Google. We know that we watched the game. But how good was Bhuvi? Amazing, and he's definitely back. And I think everyone is so happy to see that.
Exactly, and it's based on the performance that he did today. The judgment of the players that are in that side have going to, like Shardul Thakur as well, is going to be someone they're going to figure in that side, I'm afraid. Washington Sundar, well, I don't know, but I think they still think highly of him. What was his performance like today?
He's young. He'll get more consistent. He's pretty good. He has a lot more to learn.
He only bowled one over.
Come on, 21,
The problem I think that Kohli has, and the way that the Indian press will view it, because I've seen a couple of interviews, is I think with the World Cup in mind that there's going to be strong pressure to get Ashwin back in. And at the start of the series, Kohli said that Washington Sundar's done better and he's picked over Ashwin on ability. Like Kohli basically said that Sundar's there on merit and he's been picked over Ashwin. So there's pressure now with Sundar not doing so well. Jadeja's going to come back in with a World Cup in mind. They might go with the experience. They might go with, Ravi Ashwin's comfortably our most experienced bowler. He'll probably have a good IPL. Unless, if he has a good IPL, then there's going to be big pressure to pick him, because I'm sure that he wants to be playing, doesn't he, Ashwin? I don't think any doubt about that. So it'll be interesting to see. I personally don't think Sundar. I think he's a weak link if he plays. I don't think his batting he's going to bat at 8 or 9, isn't he? If you look at the side that India puts out, and I think that they've got better bowling options to come in, and it was quite clear that he was targeted in this series. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what India go. If they stick with him, great. He's a young guy, and I'd always think that's good. But it'd be interesting to see how they view his series and how they view it going forward.
I think it's going to come down to one thing, and that's Ashwin's physical fitness.
That's right.
Because he has got quite a severe back problem, and I think you mentioned earlier, Chris, about how long Ashwin will play for in all formats. We're going to see a decision on Ashwin before too long on whether he'll continue playing all formats.
Yeah,
and that will mean that the T20 World Cup might be a crescendo for his T20 performances in the future, if that's going to happen. Beyond that, there's no hope of Ashwin playing any more T20 cricket. And his ODI cricket is going to become less and less important. Why? Because his Test cricket is all important to him in terms of...
That's right.
So I think, Chris, you may be right, but I'll tell you what, this will be his last hurrah.
And that's a good thing. I mean, England have set a precedent probably more than other countries with how they've handled Broad and Anderson. Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad haven't played a white ball game for 5 or 6 years. Jimmy Anderson is literally, you're playing Test cricket, you're not playing, and that's how they've managed. I reckon if Jimmy Anderson had played another 101 days, I doubt he would be playing now, because workload on your body, and they might. I know it's different for us. India might view that the same way that Matt looked to manage workload and rest and keep Ashwin fit, because he's comfortably going to have a much bigger say in Test cricket than he is in one-day cricket, for sure.
Yeah. Can one of you two guys send Abashis a link to this thing? Because my phone's dead. The other phone's dead. It doesn't my normal.
I don't have his number.
Good. Send it to the group. All right. Okay. All right.
Here's an interesting comment for you, Norman, from Z-Sun Islam. He said, Sobers only took 235 Test wickets, an average of 35.
Okay. I'm going to kind of take a step back here. We talk about averages and, blah, 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 about batters and bowlers. You put Jack Carlson number one all-rounder in the world ever by that stat. I'm sorry. And that is the problem.
As a batting around, his bowling would have been probably similar to.
Okay. But I'll go back to Carlos for a minute. Carlos, I don't remember any match that he won with the ball. None. Zero. He contributed. He never won a match. So he's out immediately. What those figures are not telling you about Garfield Sobers is that he actually won that in many a moon, in regards to he did that many a time with those stats. That's what's important. So I'm annoyed. I'm not knocking the fellow that did that. You got right to say that. He's gone and checked after what I said, I'm pretty sure. The reality is it's the way that he took his wickets and the way that he batted at the crucial times that no one can ever surpass. So statistically, we're going to move that to one side. Okay.
It depends. Yeah, I guess what we're saying is it depends how you are defining an all-round. If it's on ability to win games and to change the course of a match, is slightly different to consistently being a better all-round over a career. They're slightly different, and we're trying to find the middle point, aren't we?
Yeah, but Garfield Sobers is still a one. Okay, it's fact. So I can't take away from that fact. But look, the stats may show slight variations, but I think you'll have to agree with that. And there's no one that's, if anyone has seen him play or has, look, Barry Knight's my best example. Who's an Englishman? Barry Knight, actually, I think his last wicket that he took was actually Sir Garfield Sobers. He took him, okay? But he said you cannot compare anyone else to him. Now, I know it's an era. I know it's based on eras. I get that. But we have to accept the fact that Bradman and Sobers are best at their fields, and they're never going to be surpassed, not only statistically, but also the ability, what they've proven. So, and I know I'm older than you two guys, but it's not a matter of age, it's a matter of fact. Okay. Mm-hmm. But both of them certainly a second. It's daylight to the rest. But my point again was around Pandya today. He's been valued for his all-round capability, and he proved that he's up there. And his batting was sensational. His bowling was very good as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's fielding.
He's one of the best in the white ball game. As we said, he just has a little bit of way to go in the Test. I think his batting has to improve in Test cricket to be considered a genuine all-rounder. I think that he's not quite there yet in Test cricket. In white ball cricket, absolutely, without a doubt. Like, he's one of the best. I think that Test cricket's just a different game, and he needs to just. I think he needs to work on one of them, and it's probably his batting, just to be a little bit better than it is at the moment.
And I can tell you what, he's amount of batting practice throughout the series. If you look at the tapes of him out there, he's probably been out there longer than anyone else. So he's really been putting a lot of effort into that. So yeah, okay. We've lost Pretty, but she is coming back purely because of she just messaged me. So Chris, can you just do a bit of a 2-second monologue? I want to get an iPhone charger for well, actually Pretty's back, so I'll put Pretty on.
I need to run. I said 15 minutes. I've been here an hour, so I'm going to dive off.
Yeah, because you've enjoyed yourself so much.
Well, absolutely.
I know. You said 15 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Chris, can you and Pretty have a little bit of a discussion? I'll be back in 2 seconds, and then you can go. Okay? It's all right. Yeah. So you guys can talk for a second, okay?
All right. It's funny. I actually missed quite a portion of the game because I had to go off air. So I missed, I think, 11 from the 11th over to the 18th. So I don't know what happened.
When England were batting, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just scoreboard pressure is massive in chasing. You know, there's a reason why sides don't chase big scores very often, because it's additional pressure and it's one bad over, isn't it? There we go. You know, I think India were just slightly better on the day. England close. England are always going to be very confident in the way that the mindset's instilled, and you know, depending on the draw, and you know, if both sides peak, then that could well be, you know, a rematch in the World Cup final. I think that I mean, they might put each other out in the semis. I don't know what the draw's looking like, but it'll be good to see, because they're definitely the best two in the world, aren't they? England and India at the moment, comfortably in 2020 cricket.
A lot of the fans were saying it's going to be India West Indies in the final.
I think that's just because West Indies are everyone's second favourite team, aren't they?
They want to see that, yeah. It may happen, who knows?
Well, Chris Gale, Pollard, and Nicholas Puran, and probably bring out Dwayne Bravo, probably bring back Viv Richards, and they might have a chance. And again, mark my words, the influence of Sir Vivian Richards, and Mervyn, he's not online, would attest to this. The influence, the words that Vivian Richards says to people like Botham, and what I believe what Viv Richards learned from Garfield Sobers. So there's a connection between Viv. Garfield Sobers' wisdom to Viv to Botham, literally shaped Ian Botham at a very young age. Not that I'm saying he can't do it himself, it was his ability, but Botham's mindset was shaped by Viv Richards.
Amazing.
And when throughout the entire career of Ian Botham, I don't know, I wasn't a fly on the wall, but the amount of discussions those two would have had pre and post games during matches would have been phenomenal. And I love to get Ian Botham on. I'm going to try and do that with a bit of help. I'm going to ask him these very questions. I'd like to know when he won those games in that he won, who he went to discuss matches with. And I don't mean, you know, his father, whatever, you know, they all have influence. Every player has a mentor that they talk to. In the case of, let's say, Shane Warne, he would go to Terry Jenner, the spinner from South Australia. Terry Jenner was in Shane Warne's ear the whole time. The Chappells had each other, the brothers. You know, Ian Chappell was a great mentor to his brothers. The Wars would have had each other. The most significant mental state that you come from is the likes of a Viv Richards into an Ian Botham ear. Garfield Sobers into a Viv Richards ear. Sir Don Bradman to certain people's ear. Neil Harvey, if I could only get him to sit here and talk to us and let him just talk, the things he says at 92 years of age will blow your mind. He now, if he was the selector for Australia, he would sort out the rubbish that's going on with the Tim Paynes and the whomever you want to mention and the Warners. If those blokes were to pick up the phone and talk to Neil Harvey and have a coffee like I have on many occasions and have learnt wisdoms of that man, is where I'm absolutely disgusted that they don't understand that. I want to know who the mentors are that are in the ear of Dave Warner, for example, and Steve Smith. I want to know who. I'm not knocking them. I don't know who they are, but the reality is they need to find someone better.
And remember, Hardik has a brother, Krunal, right? He is going to, wasn't he announced in the World Cup squad?
In the one-day squad, yeah.
Yeah, so will they
They
be
are brothers? They are brothers. They are brothers?
Yeah, Krunal, yeah.
Left arm spinner.
Okay, but they're very different players. But yeah.
They're very different players, yeah.
But no, but I'm just, do you get my point though?
Yes.
Terry Jenner was an absolute, Terry Jenner was who Shane Warne went to all the time. Okay. And even Shane Warne realizes that now, and he'll get in the ear of Rashid Khan or the other leggy from Pakistan. Look, you've got to give it to Shane Warne. He has total respect for any leg spinner from any country.
He does.
He will help people out. He would be telling Mitchell Swepson not to overbowl to get a damn stress fracture of your upper neck, which he's done. Shane Warne would have stopped that. I don't know how much influence he's had on him. He probably has had influence. I can't be certain of this fact. But Shane Warne understands that, and he's doing it to others. Okay? There's some significant things I've said because Ian Botham's mental position was almighty. Viv Richards helped that. Yeah. All right.
Mike Brearley is, I don't know how much he would have I've got 2 minutes. I don't know how much Viv Richards had in the Ashes in '81, but both of them were sacked as captain, I think, and
Correct.
Mike really came in and I think this story goes that really said something like the night before the game, go and get drunk or go to a barbecue, go home, have a party, and turn up and win me a test tomorrow. So the press had hounded him. He'd been sacked. He was, I think, the start of the Ashes series, both of them did nothing, literally because he was captain or he'd been. And Mike Brearley came in, and Mike Brearley's test record is pretty average if you look at it, but he's basically credited that he knew how to get the best out of both of them, and he won both and basically won a series by himself. Well, obviously Bob Willis had a pretty good say in one of the tests, but Brearley knew, and that's the art of a good captain, isn't it? Same with a manager, same with a coach. You know, it's man management. Some players need a rocket up their backside. Some need an arm around the shoulder and a cuddle and say, "Lucky, you know, you're the best. Come and do it for us." So that's the art of why someone like Kevin Peterson probably was never a good captain, because you never see him cuddling someone and saying, "Unlucky,
Right.
you're really good today, but maybe next time." You know, you could see him just sort of going in all guns blazing and throwing punches. So that's the beauty of captaincy. Why are some of the best players ever not good captains? Because they're just not made. Why is Kane Williamson such a captain? Or why is Ajinkya Rahane regarded as a good captain? Because
Or
he has,
Dhoni was the best.
just has an aura about them that they know how to do it. And you know, you don't. I think a lot of teams get it wrong. They automatically think their best player has to be captain, and it's not the case at all. You know, I
I
think.
mean, Sachin was not the best captain India has ever had. You know, he was. I mean, I don't think he was a very good captain at all. That was not a role he was really right for.
No, he was a bit of a purist to the performer. Okay, just going back a step to Kohli's captaincy. During the Test series, there's a lot of discussion about, you know, Rahane should be over Kohli and all that. There's no one that could have done what they've done today without Kohli. Rahane would have had no hope in hell of motivating it. He wouldn't have been able to go out there and bat and take the lead that these guys did. Rahane's a great captain. He will be, and definitely in tests. You may, and I'm only surmising here, you may see Rahane at one stage have the captaincy and Kohli may stick to the short from it. It may happen, but I doubt it. No,
I think Rahane's older than Kohli, isn't he? I think Rahane's career.
I'm just saying, if it happened, India would be
He'll
doing okay.
step in when he has to. He has a good temperament for when the time needs it. That temperament doesn't actually work all the time.
No, but he would be absolutely
he steps in at
useless.
the right time.
He would
Could
have
you
been
see Kohli
absolutely
playing Test cricket and not being captain? I think that Kohli, when Kohli hangs his boots up, is when he'll hand the captaincy up. I couldn't see Rishabh Pant captaining India in 4 years' time and Virat Kohli stood at second slip. You know, I think that he'll retire when he gives, you know, the captaincy will go when he does. I think I might be wrong, but I see him as he's such a imposing, big, not arrogant, but in your face captain, if that makes sense. And I don't see him wanting to play and not. I think that it's his team, isn't it? Whereas some like Rahane, you could see, and you know, Rahane obviously did well in Australia, but you know, his players and Australia were not quite their best. And you know, I mean, it all helps for sure. But I need to go.
Okay, guys. I'm just, would you believe, as I expect, my other phone would have people wanting to come online.
Okay.
We've got Merv Richards trying to get online. I'm just going to see whether I can get him to come.
All right, ciao. Enjoy, Chris.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Chris, before you go, thank you again for your efforts. You've been fantastic. The reality is, India were better on the day, but England have played out of their skin. They still scored admirably. Butler and Milan have played their way into regular roles if they haven't already. I think there's a little hope of that not being the case, and I thank you for that. So we'll see you in the ODI series coming up.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you before then anyway. I'm sure we'll do something.
Of course, no, I'm saying that's, and we were talking all things IPL as well. I think that's, to me, you know, a great situation to be able to have. I think the ODIs. Am I wrong in saying this? Maybe a bit anticlimactic after what's just happened. That's my thoughts.
Well, I did say 2-1, and I think it will be 2-1 India, and it will be dramatic. I can tell you that after this win.
Yeah,
because they're on a roll, you know.
I don't think they can match this particular effort in the ODI, and again, because of the significance of T20s for the World Cup is also there. Okay.
See you later.
All right, Chris. Thank you very much.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Take care.
All right. He
So I'm
was
just trying
supposed. He said, "I'll be here for 15 minutes." An hour later,
I didn't believe that for a second.
and he
Actually,
was waiting for 45 minutes before you ever got on. So.
I mean, the reality was that was such an important, to me, such an important discussion that he understood that. And I'm just trying to get to Barsh's.
Yeah.
And the fact is, for some reason, I haven't got to Barsh's in the group chat. I don't know why.
I think our fans really rubbed it in. If you read the comments.
Well,
I mean, he said 4-1. I mean, just yeah.
Look, I'm. The word shocked is the wrong word. I'm not saying I'm shocked. I believe they could do this, and they've done it.
Yeah.
I did talk about Coley opening and batting, and you watch what he does, and there's the selections, the way that he put once he had his team, you know, they would have had a long chat with Rahul. I reckon they would have had a long chat with him.
Yes.
And they would have sat him down. And they would have said, "Look, mate, you're not up to it at the moment." Yeah, and that's not negative. And that's not rude. It's actually a good chat, because they would have said, "Right, we want to win this match. This is like a rehearsal. You're going to be in the mix for sure for the T20 series." Coley stood up and said, "Right, this is the way it's going to be. We need another bowler. Our batters can handle it," and they did. And unfortunately, for Rahul's sake, they gave him 4 matches, and he didn't quite get it last match. And that, although they won the game, he could have been in the side. It wouldn't have made much difference. They could have, but anyway. But allowed Coley to open the batting, and that was significant. And if he should have got 100, but he took his captaincy was that good. He took a backward step a little bit and let Sharma and Pandya go. He could have easily really outmuscled them and said, "Right, out of the way, I want to score 100.
He's not a selfish player anymore. He's not a selfish player.
No, I think he's realised that he needs to be a team man, and he's done that very well. And it may well be, watching the likes of Rahane play, that it only improved his captaincy, to be honest with you. Okay, I'm going to look at some of the comments here of those officials who wants to see Hitman and the King open in the ODIs.
Yeah,
I do. Sai Krishna. Chris says, like, I have to go to this through this a third time. Yeah, I'm afraid he was. It's amazing, and I'm not knocking Chris. I love him.
There's a push and pull. There was a push and pull, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Sir Garfield Sobers. My God, forget it. He's the best all-rounder he's like the Bradman of all-rounders. There's not even a comparison. Both of them is well and truly was on his way up there, and he was. Stokes has his potential, but there's no one. But Pandya, I've got a feeling if he was fit, he could perhaps get in that realm. He hasn't done it yet, though, but he certainly won. Okay, let's have a look at some more of the other people that were gone wide. Graham Swan said to Varsity, "I can play for England if India don't pick him."
I saw that. That was cute.
I actually think that's a comment that can be referred to by a lot of people. Sahil Kalia, hey Norman, Chris and Pretty, watching you with love from Canada, and that's just shows our
thank you.
breadth. Yeah, Chris is still here, but he's not here now. He had to leave. But he was there.
So funny! You have got to be kidding me. I think he just didn't want to be on air with me.
He thought the fitness would be the most. I reckon he could. If England had won, Chris would be still here now.
This is so funny. Oh.
So, looking through the messages, because there were so many, it's a bit hard to keep track. Yeah, we've got a few trolls there. We've got a few trolls there, but as I said to you, Pretty, we ignore.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, the Hitman. I know they're giving the man of the match to
Bhuvi.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Honestly,
I am happy. I'm happy.
He changed the game because England could have still won it despite these great runs made by Kohli and Sharma. That's why he got the man of the match, because it's not just the 2 for 15. It's what 13 dot balls in a row. It's overs where he gave them 4 runs or whatever at when everyone else was giving them 13, and that completely just killed the momentum. And those 2 wickets were precious. I think he deserved it. I'm so happy for him. And he's such a nice guy. I think he's the nicest guy in that team.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, but he wouldn't have had Homer bowling that way if Sharma and Kohli didn't do what they did to start the innings off.
But then
If
look at
India
the
were,
lineup. Do you not think that Pant, Shreyas would have cobbled up a decent total on a pitch like that? What a dream pitch to make runs. Honestly, any team would have gone over 150, I think.
no, I actually don't. Be careful there, because I think that it was these two are the best 2 teams in the world.
Sure.
And they did it
Great
handsomely.
wicket, though. Great pitch. The best ever for to make runs,
Yeah, but which is very much a fair effort
Mm-hmm.
on behalf of India. They didn't make it turners. They didn't have it in a way which you could argue with Doctor the wicket. None of that going on, because really it gave a chance to both teams to win, yes. But
Agreed.
I don't think any team would have done well in that. Why? Because the bowling attacks of these 2 teams are very good. And I think the class of Rohit Sharma and Kohli and ultimately Pandya stood out a lot. Rohit Sharma's timing of the ball is second to none. He's batting shots. I mean, Kohli played some very unusual, which is very manufactured, but still excellent. They're kind of almost cross bat through deep mid wicket, which were excellently timed. He's manufactured. He's taught himself how to play those shots. It's very unique, but pure batting shots. Rohit Sharma's drives would be good in any format of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He is incredible. He scored 250 in an ODI. If he bats like he did today, he'll score 250 in the ODI, which he's done. If you want to see an admirable innings of cricket, go Google Rohit Sharma 254 in an ODI match. If there's been a better innings ever, I don't believe there has been. Rohit Sharma would have scored 500 in a test match if he batted that way. I mean, we can't compare, I know, but it wasn't a test match. Bowling was different. But Rohit Sharma, at times in his career, he's a bit lazy. He's a bit carefree, but he is by far the best technician in world cricket.
I agree.
Better than anyone.
And certainly today with everyone currently, right? Yeah, for sure. Well, he's the hitman. They love him. He's a rock star in India.
He's set, and arguably that's why the Mumbai Indians win so much. He hasn't performed that well himself, but his presence is.
But the team keeps winning anyway, so they've.
Oh yeah, I mean Pandya's in that team, and I mean he clearly is worth They're going to have him in the front and center of any World Cup challenge. I'll put money on it. And he may not perform that well in the IPL. I don't know. He probably will, but I'm not really concerned about that. Pandya's in the side with Rohit Sharma and Kohli. Kohli batting number 4, wasted. Batting
wasted
number 3
on today. Wasted would have been a waste.
Generally, he's batting at number 4. If he doesn't get the opportunity to bat the whole innings, and he'll score hundreds. I'm so frustrated that he didn't score 100. I thought, even though Sharma went early, went quickly early, I'm so shocked that he didn't.
He'll get another chance.
He showed incredible modesty by just taking a bat, letting the other 3 score the big runs. Because I'm just looking at the batting averages.
Yeah, just you look at that 1 second. I'm gonna just reapply my lipstick. 1 second.
Okay. I mean, I like to reapply my lipstick, but I haven't got lipstick to reapply. The reality is the way that India batted, after 13 overs, they were 2 for 143. So literally in 6 overs, 4 balls, they scored 81 runs. So that's 81 runs in 39 balls. So well over 200 was their last.
Incredible.
So many deliveries. Rishabh Pant didn't even bat.
Sky did that. He was good.
Sky batted well and surely, but the reality is that Kohli averaged 153. His batting strike was 153, but he pulled back. Sharma was 188, Sky was 188, and Hardik Pandya was 229. Compare that to the England batters. Let's have a look where we've got a stat there for them. No one averaged. Oh, sorry. Sam Curran had 466, but that was 14 runs off 3 balls. He hit 2 sixes. He tried his level best, but let's not compare that. But even Josh Butler got 152, and Milan got 147 as a strike rate. All 4 of the Indian batsmen cleared that easily, and Kohli, who was rather conservative, still outdid Butler and Milan, despite being, I would say, conservative. So the other 3, 188, both of them, and 229. That is where we're talking about class.
Yes.
Rohit
So,
Sharma.
by the way, the man of the series was Kohli as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, are you happy with that? I was trying to think.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Who
he
else?
scored 2 matches he performed particularly well, and yet again he got 80 in this match. He got 3 very, if not 4, I think 3 or 4, 3 very good scores and significant scores. And no, I think that's a fair comment. And Bhuvi today, well, I could have given it to Sharma as well, but even though he didn't get the most runs, he played the most significant role. So did Pandya. So no, I would argue that that's a fair summation of it. And Kohli, I mean, we've been giving him heaps throughout the series, and deservedly so in some cases. But it's Raju Sharma says, "Suck it, cool down, bro." Okay, I'm missing out on an argument here.
Is there a chat fight?
Well, the fact is, there's a fact that is Chris is not agreeing that Virat is the best leader rather than captain.
Are you kidding me?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Kohli was a master stroke on 2 counts, maybe 3 counts, but definitely with his own batting position, and secondly having Hardik Pandya bat. And Chris did say it correctly. He did say that Pandya is probably better at the medium pace fast bowling, and more than Punt, or maybe not. They could be both equally good. There's a thing that Kohli has literally learnt in his captaincy throughout the series on how to switch and losing the toss and still winning, to switch the batting order to suit his team. And it was Kohli and Kohli alone that made the decision for him to bat first. No one else.
You know, people forget that when a team wins, I mean, it absolute all the kudos really goes to the captain as well, because he's the one who's made the most decisions, and he's the one who picked his team, who delivered for him. So sometimes it's a thankless job unless they are getting the big runs themselves. They don't really get the credit when they've really done all the strategizing and executing and made sure this team did what it was supposed to do. And I think he does a lot of that, and he doesn't always get credit when India wins.
Well, he did exactly what he needed to do, which was to go out firing, and he did. I'm not trying to brag, but I did pick that Kohli would do something like this, and I don't know what the other pundits were thinking. I don't think it was an automatic choice to have Kohli as opener at all, but they made the decision in conjunction with Rahul. They said, "We don't. Well, he's not playing well. We need another bowler. The most out of form batter at the moment is Rahul. He's out." And I think Rahul's would have
so
been
happy
fantastic.
that they finally dropped him. It's 4 T20 games too late, but
no, that's a bit too hard, because in all honesty, Chris was right. He deserved to be there for the first 3 or 4, and the batting coach was right. But first 3, the 4th, he had to deliver because they're getting to the crunch match, and he didn't. And they had to choose a bowler, and the choice was that. I don't know whether I think they had to give, like, Darwin and Rahul were the best 2 IPL batters. In the final, neither player played. Okay, that's significant on their form through the series. You're right, but the blooding of Ishan Kishan and Sky. Let's take a step back. Had Darwin and Rahul batted well in the first match, maybe we never would have seen them through the whole series.
That's right.
That would have been a lost opportunity. So India's selections have been.
They've been spot on with their selection, getting the pitch right, in the tests as well as the T20. So that's good. And honestly, losing the toss 4 out of 5 times, coming from behind, going against the grain to win is not easy. That when you lose the toss, half the job. I mean, it's like the other team is 50% already there, and you'd have to really compensate and make sure that you come up with the goods, come up with some magic, which they did.
There's no doubt about it. England and Australia are now watching what India is doing, because England and Australia are somewhat more conservative with their selections, with their strategies and tactics. The Test series, they were very metronome, and Australia got knocked off in the end. England in both the Tests and now the T20s. And Chris said it, which is where the problem starts to finish. He said, "Oh, giving him another 100 tosses, I think Alan Morgan will do the same thing." Well, that's stupid.
Yeah, I disagree.
It's stupid because England had their opportunity either the last match or the match.
I was very surprised that having lost the last game, making the exact same decision, I'm surprised they wouldn't have. I thought, they would have batted first. I'm
well.
very shocked about that.
The reality is that in the case of Butler and Roy and Milan, had they batted first, would they have got 220? No, I don't.
I don't think so, because Indian bowling can be tight. Yeah.
Yeah, but they would have gotten. They could well have gotten a very good score.
200
of 180 to 190, which is what they got anyway. But they would have been able to perhaps put pressure on India a little bit more, and it may have affected India's play. It may have, but the reality is that Alan Morgan has to wake up to himself and say, you can't have one tactic for every game. It just doesn't. It's not giving credit to your team. You've got to test them under a lot of conditions, and they didn't do that, and they were found wanting. And India now have worked out a way to win, and when losing the toss.
I know, and I hate to think that the toss should play such a big role. It should have the least effect on
it
who
does.
wins.
It's going to always have an effect in Test cricket as well.
I think this series has showed us that it doesn't have the effect that some people think it does, which is good to hear.
No, in all honesty, it does. It does, but you have to be prepared for anything. You need to practice both, and by practicing both and winning both, then you're unbeatable. It's probably more that. Yeah. I mean, it is a statistical correct thing to say that most games are won by the person winning a toss in these formats. It is that way. It is pretty strong evidence. So you would generally do that as a rule, but you need to be able to not do that and win still. So that's the point. So that leader, Captain Kohli, is the best leader from the front. He's a self. He's a self-leader, meaning that he leads by example. Rahane leads by example by not leading. That's a way of describing it.
That's right. That's true.
So it's kind of a slight, but Rahul, I'd love to see a video of the discussion when they sit down with Rahul, Rohit, Kohli, and maybe a couple of other think tank people, maybe Punt and Pandya. They would have said, they were saying, right, what are we going to do here? And Kohli says, I'm opening. Rahul, we're going to get a bowler. I'm sorry you're not on the side. He'll explain it. We'll explain it away probably individually and then collectively. And I said, this is our tactic. We're going to we're going to thump them. We're going to start from ball one and blow up. And Rohit Sharma, I'm going to be sitting next to you and watching you until it's on your first down. Keep going. This is your day. Go out of your skin. I actually think Rohit Sharma's batting was better because Kohli was with him.
I think so too.
So that made the most difference. Rohit Sharma showed me again when he decides to put his foot down, he'll win anything. And the dismissal he got out to was he was dirty that he got out. He was absolutely dirty. That you don't often see Sharma do is to react to his dismissal. He tends to go off without making a comment. He was dirty on his dismissal, which means he wanted to score big and he would have scored.
He was upset with himself. Yeah.
That's actually not that. He doesn't normally do that. He normally goes, "Oh well, that's the way I got out. I'm off. That's it." He's
a very cool customer. He's maybe the coolest guy when out. Yeah, he just walks, doesn't say anything.
Yeah, but the reality is he didn't do that this time. He actually showed a sense of emotion about his dismissal and disappointment. That's to me. We may need to see a bit more of that from Rohit. We may need to see a bit more grunt in him. Because when he does do that, he performs out of his skin. He pulled. All of his shots were exquisite. It was.
By the way, we're all talking about Kohli's 3,000. Guess who's next? Rohit. He's at 2,800 at this point. He's
a couple of hundred.
During the World Cup, he's going to get his 3,000.
I reckon that
the final.
But those two actually said to each other, we're the best two in the world. Let's start the innings off. And that's exactly what you do in a T20 match.
Yeah.
I'm still a little bit. Kohli can't have the batting all the time. I get that, but I think Kohli.
But once in a while, because we never see him open, right? He's always fourth, third, fourth.
No, but he in a T20 match, he's allowed other people to get experience now with Kishan and Sky and the like. He knew that it's time for him, and it's going to scare the other side. If they see Kohli batting first, they're going to want like hell to get him out cheaply, because if they don't, they're in trouble.
He does go out cheaply sometimes, but not all the time. That's just bad luck sometimes.
I think the crucial bowling performance against him was the way that Adil Rashid bowled. Adil Rashid, let me look at his figures. What did he have these figures go? His figures, let me have a look. I'm trying to find his figures. Adil Rashid, 4 overs, 1 for 31. He actually was the most economical. And his wicket, he took his first wicket was, in fact, it was well down the innings. It was Sky. So what I'm saying is Rashid does have a bit of a bunny, and that is Kohli. They're jokingly saying that, but Kohli played him very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
He was very cautious on, which was Kohli adjusts his performance so well, so often. He's adjusted performance yet again. He was a lot steadier. He would have practiced in the nets a bowler like Rashid, and would have tried to work out how to be more controlling. Many people say he can't pick his wrong, but he played him with a great deal of caution. He was playing him not from the pitch. He was trying to play him more out of the hand, which means earlier. Kohli adjusts brilliantly. He's sensational. My opinion of him has gone through the roof after today. Again, he is going to be, again, whenever we say he shouldn't be captain, let's dismiss
Oh God,
that.
no. He's the captain that India needs right now. And
well, the ODI T20s, he's captain by 100 miles. Test cricket, on occasions, but then he had other. People are forgetting that he had a daughter into the world.
That's right.
Into the world.
Personal.
I mean, and good on him. He went and did that. Kohli's. Well, he is going to be. Well, sorry, he's not going to be. He is the best T20 player, best ODI player in the world, and may well be able to say quite handsomely that he's the best in both formats ever. Batting wise, in Test cricket, he's got a way to go. He may not be 10 only because of the sheer weight of runs. He'll probably go into the top 10 by the end of his career, maybe top 5. He may not be the best Test batsman in the world, but the other 2 formats, he's going to kill us. So that's my thoughts. We still have a lot of people online, by the way.
I'm loving this is the first time that I actually, while we were waiting for you, actually went on to the chat, and I typed in a few things in Hindi. The people went berserk. They're like, Preeti, you're here finally. Oh my God. And so we had a lot of Hindi chat, which was nice. And then I didn't get back to it, but it's so much fun. They're so happy,
Well, and then I'm hoping Jabas is still awake. I don't know whether he is. and Mervyn Richards wanted to come on as well, but that's the problem. It's modern technology. People don't always see the links, and we've had our issues.
I wish Merv was here. He's so amazing, and he loves India. He was rooting for India. I know that, so he'd be very happy.
I've been talking with the Antigua Cricket Association about tours. I've been in that area. We're going to advance that quite significantly. So it's all about COVID now, and Simon Willis's group will get involved. We'll get people from Australia involved. There's a significant push for that. So I think that's something that's going to be in the wings, and there'll be tours. And again, members online. The members, if you're not a member at the moment, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Okay. I understand you can view at any time at these videos, and I appreciate that. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. We can alert you to these talks if we started later, a bit earlier. Please subscribe, because you can then be able to be notified, and please do that. Now, I'm not begging you just to get more numbers. It's not about that, because I'm very happy with the way things are going. It's about being able to be exposed to these discussions, which are monumental. I'm not always putting in my thumbnail the pictures of all the people on, because quite frankly, that changes so much. Right. I don't believe it's one person. It's a collective of all, not of one. So whether we have, Jeff Thompson online or we don't, it's not that crucial. It's about the level of discussion.
Yes.
And in particular with the likes of Chris Vernon, who's been in every session. He's monumental. We had David Graveney earlier, who was sensational. Aparna, Pretty. We've had Tabasha's online. We've got some very critical analysis going on, but we need variation. We don't just need critical. We need
And
emotionally.
you need glamour, you need all of that, which I bring
Well,
as
but
well
pretty,
as
no,
my analysis.
pretty. I know that you're saying because I'm all the time the glamour's there. I get you. I understand what you're saying. That's clearly what you're saying. Pretty. Don't put my name up there, please. I know you want to say my name as being glamorous, but I don't put lipstick on deliberately because when I do, the ratings will go through the roof. Okay, we can't have that. We can't have it, especially from banned foo and update games and Zizan Islam and Mo sucks. So I'm not sure who that is, but we've got some unusual names that have come up here. Sir,
Yes.
update games, sir, support me. Well, what am I supporting update games? If you become, are you update games? Have you subscribed or are you just on this talk? Update games, prove to me that you've subscribed. You're a gaming channel. I'll help you out if you show me you've subscribed and you've supported this channel. I've never seen you before. So, Swanky Nitish, again, we're getting people who are up really late
All
in
these
the morning.
new people I have never heard of.
Sir Viv, who was your favourite for ODIs? My favourite team, Sir Viv would be Sir Viv actually. No, who was my favourite for ODIs? Well, look, India should do very well, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that England might bounce back here. I predict that England will win the first ODI. Why?
I agree.
Because England and India are notoriously slow starters.
Yeah.
England will win the first ODI and quite handsomely. India
Yes.
will come back and we'll have an exciting third match again.
We'll have a fantastic third. I can't wait for that. It's like a script, you know.
So Pririt Carey, lovely lipstick. No, are you talking about me? No, I haven't got it. Okay. So
Just for you.
Islam, he said he subscribed 2 months ago, which is good. What's your prediction on the ODI? So say, Christian, I've just said just then, damn, I thought I was adding glamour to the show here. Official side you are, but we'll get you on. We'll get some of the people who are subscribers, then the members, and you have the super stickers. People who put more effort into being a part of this will get airtime. Official side, I'm not sure why you're official side, but your side.
No.
We'll give you a chance.
Who's the unofficial side?
But official side, if you come on there, if you're going to add glamour, I'm expecting lipstick. Okay, Rajiv Sharma, India will still win the ODIs 2-1, like I predicted for 3-2, and I'll retire, become an astrologer. You're going to retire and become an astrologer? Well, is that based on prediction? This is astrology for you guys. This is my crystal ball. It's also used as a drink shaker, but my crystal ball is India will win the ODI series 2-1, but they'll lose the first match. And there'll be all this talk about drop this person.
The same old drop Kohli.
Okay. So Bakul Dada, yes, members are privileged. They will be privileged because we haven't quite formulated everything yet, but when ODI sorts itself out, we're going to be touring as a band of merry people. I could say men, but people. And official Sai reckons he would kill it with lipsticks. Who would you kill? Yourself? Were you going to poke yourself with lipstick? I don't know. Okay.
I don't think anyone wants to see him in
MO sucks says, no chance, mate. Well, that's your decision, and I have to respect that. But the reality is that I'll reciprocate by helping you out, but we're going to help us out here too.
Is Chris still there?
Kunal Sharma, there's a Kunal Sharma. Now, I actually know a Kunal Sharma. You're saying the pretty is very sexy. Well, if it's a Kunal Sharma, I know naughty. No.
Hey,
okay.
He might be a KP's friend.
No. Okay, so swanky niches, very nice show, cricket answer. Thank you. Why are you swanky? The word swanky is kind of like, groovy, I guess. Very good word. All right, guys, we've done well here. Anyone else want? Someone's proposing to Pretty.
Oh.
Survey. What's your?
I have flowers behind me. I got to share with you, Norman. I had to actually go off air in the middle of the game to go on national TV, and I was doing a segment with like U.S. defense and all of that. And we were talking about these billion-dollar deals, but the game was more exciting. So I missed a few overs. It was for 30 minutes. I came back and I was like, please don't tell me this game turned and it's like all gone for 150. But I was like, you kidding me? Only 2 people gone and they were on a roll. So that was so exciting, and I have to watch those like overs 11 to 18 again because I missed those overs.
Well, I got a phone call from oh God, I have a mental blank here, from Aparna when the game started, wanting to have a chat. And I said, Aparna, do we need to talk now? Oh yeah, I've got to tell you many things. I said, no, I don't want to talk to you now because it's It's the time to watch the games. I said, and Pana wanted to have a long chat about the price of fish. I said, I don't care. I'm watching the cricket. Please, we'll go back later. So she actually rang during the broadcast. I'm not blaming her, but we've got to learn not to ring during broadcast because it cuts the broadcast out. That's what caused my volume to cut, and that annoyed me. But anyway, people don't understand that, and I'm not knocking it, but we've got to be aware of it. Okay, this is your time, guys. You missed the most important over, the 13th Bouvier over. Okay, what happened?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. I will go back and watch that. I'm gonna have to re-watch this whole match because it was quick.
It seemed quick, but it wasn't quick. Both teams played to the fullness of their innings. So, have I got 12,000 subscribers? It looks like I've reached 12,000 subscribers.
We hit 12,000.
Guys, 12,000 is nice, but it's about viewership that I'm right. Subscribers are important. Yes. Subscribers are important, but people who view. We've still got a large number of people, an hour and 45 minutes into this broadcast. We still have a substantial number of people. It reminds me of the day that I put Viv Richards' picture up and we had 10,000. It's a bit like that.
Amazing.
The reality is, guys, if a lot of you, now that we're reaching a time, what's the time now? It's 1
It's late in
morning.
India.
It's way late. If you're still up, guys, where have you been on earlier stages of the series? Some of you need to be here more often. If you want later updates, please look. Any update about Jadeja? Well, yes, he's ready to go. He may be here for the ODIs, maybe, but I doubt it. They don't want to overdo it with him.
That's
because
too soon, I think. He needs to rest.
Jadeja's going to play the World Cup, okay? I don't think there's any doubt here. There was mention from Chris and others about Ashwin coming back. Well, it'll be maybe a little bit selfish because I think that'll be his swan song. And that's the reason why he wants to be part of the World Cup winning T20 side, granted, but he has to perform. And
yes.
Washington Sundar probably has a slight edge still. Why? Because he can bat aggressively. And I think that's probably, Ashwin can certainly bat, but he's a test batsman. He's not a short form
I don't
version.
see him as a T20 player, although, I mean, he's the best spinner in the world right now.
Yeah, well, he can still win a game. Suman's saying that what's his name? Today's not the ODS. I said, I'll take that back. If he's not, then he's not playing because that's pretty well decided. We're getting a lot of comments from people. I'm just trying to keep track of some of them. Continue your show. All cricket lovers are supporting you. Thank you, Swanky. But the best way of supporting me is by showing it, by subscribing. Now, I have some people who've said to me, I love your show. People who actually contacted me on Instagram and other formats. They go, oh, I love your show. I watch it every day, all the time. I'm waiting for the game. And my next question, have you subscribed? Oh, no, I can't log in. Well, please do. Okay? It's a bit like watching TV. I'm joking now. Watching a cable channel at your mate's place. I know it might be a monetary thing with that, but there's no money in subscribing. You don't have to pay. You can hit the button and you don't get hit by any more ads or anything. Just subscribe because it's really important. I think the figures are that I've got, 12,000, but I have 149,000 that view on a day. So out of the 12,000, 140, it's still a pretty good percentage, but it'd be nice if they were just to subscribe. I know I often find when you're in Facebook and you click on Facebook, you take into a YouTube link, you go in there and you can view it, but you can't. Facebook does not allow you through that connection to actually subscribe. You have to, make comments or whatever.
You have to go to YouTube.
You have to go to YouTube. So Facebook are kind of being a little bit tough on YouTube, not allowing you to go to YouTube because they probably will lose you to YouTube if they do that. So please, when you do go off a link from Facebook or LinkedIn or WhatsApp or Instagram, wherever the link you take to the YouTube site, please make the small effort to log into your YouTube and then properly subscribe. Okay? It would be appreciated. It's nothing against anyone. I've got my best mate in the country town of here in Sydney. No, I want to watch every single show. I said, Bruce, have you actually subscribed? Oh, I'll do that later. No. It's quite important. Now, I don't gain a cent from that, but it allows me to judge better where we're at with things, okay? So the memberships, again, for some of the new people, it's critical because in the future, you're going to want to be a part of it because you'll see what the benefits are, and it's there for you. Please observe that. If you can't see the membership tab in your iPhone or even your iPad, you need to go to your full laptop or computer, and the tabs apparently come up in some of the countries, as well as the join button. Do you see that? Can you see that pretty? Can you see the join button? Oh, you're subscribed, I know, but do you see a join button? Do you see that?
I mean, I have to go to my
No, but can you actually
YouTube
ask
thing
somebody,
next time. I'll have a look. Yeah.
somebody, a friend or a colleague of yours, just to say if they're not subscribed, just to show them your computer in America and get a visual, because what happens on an iPhone or an iPad or a laptop or a platform like that, see what you can see, whether you can see the join button, whether you can see the subscribe button, whether you can see the membership button, and even the store button too. There's another aspect to it. So please, they're important. All right, tell some of you guys, it's time to ask questions.
Yes, please ask me some questions if you want. I'm here.
So Ravi Macharaju, with the experience of T20, India should make 400 in the teeth with a 50 over. I would agree. They should smash that.
Depends. So we don't know what this Pune pitch is like. Is this a Wankhede Stadium, or it's just
Wankhede Stadium is in Mumbai.
Oh, okay. So different.
So Pune is a very impressive stadium. There's actually a fellow there that I know very well who has a museum in Pune. It's quite an impressive stadium indeed. In fact, there's another girl there who I know is based in Pune, if she's still there, Tanu, and I've been trying to get her to come on the show because she's physically there. We'll see what we can do with her. But I think it's Rohan, his name is, who actually runs his own museum in Pune. So he's a great guy. He's a fan of, I think, hopefully the show, but he's also a very close friend of mine. I've talked to him quite a few times. He's very much into women's cricket too, which is another one of his passions, but he has a lot of great respect. I mean, Buri Majumdar with his museum in Kolkata, the Pune Museum, they're great testaments to cricket to have such venues on there as well. So I'm just trying to see what the story is there regarding. Yeah,
I wonder what the pitch is like over there in the Pune Stadium.
Well, we're going to find out pretty soon. We'll probably talk about it in the ensuing days, but I'd say that it'll be a turning. It'll have an element of turn to it, but I think it's pretty impressive indeed. All right, let's get back to the question. It's a slow pitch, is what's been said. India 3-0. Are you covering the 2021 World Cup? Is the Pope Catholic? Of course we are.
I love it.
Does it bear?
So you're saying it's spin friendly.
Or slow, which means that it's spin friendly. The wicket slow is generally going to bite and turn. In the T20 World Cup, the Indian toss will play a massive role. It normally you would say yes, but having the last two matches where they've lost the toss and not one, but both matches, we may actually have a change. We're getting asked whether you're single. You have so many lovers whom you're. Okay, we're not going to get on that show. My strings play a guitar. That's good. That's nice, but we'll take that offline. Pune is the Pune Museum is the biggest in the world.
Wow.
To say it's the biggest in the world, it depends what the biggest means. What, in physical space or in the amount of memorabilia that they have on the show. I think Lords would kill that, and even the SCG and MCG would kill that in terms of sheer size, of volume of material. What a lot of the museums do, they don't have it all on display. They have a lot of it in the back rooms. Those stocks are enormous. The SCG, the actual stand, is full of memorabilia, chopped up one after the other, not even on show. So I don't know whether that's necessarily. Pune's would be certainly one of the biggest. Buri Majumdar's 110I is certainly rocketing. He's also got more of a sports museum than just cricket. He's got Pele, he's got Maradona, he's got a whole lot of other stuff. So
wonderful.
Why am I putting? Oh, hello! I've just accidentally hit that. Look at that. Love you, Dom. Thank you. That was sheer accident.
I'm sure.
Bye, guys. Mo Sucks is going because his battery's dying. Well, put it back in. I had to go and get my battery because mine
recharge it. That's what I had to do too.
All right. We're going to try. I'm going to try and break a record here. We've got 1 minute, 1 hour, 54 seconds. 54
we
minutes.
should go 2 hours at least.
Definitely 2 hours.
So this is
Guys,
for all the yeah.
Ask questions, guys.
Yeah, please do.
Legend Garv. I don't even know what Bernal to Bobber.
Okay, this is this is. I was gonna say, guys, all the Indians in the chat, this is just for you. Nobody called Rahul will ever do well in a stadium called Modi. You know exactly what I mean. Please comment if you agree.
Okay,
Go
we're
for
not going to go on a political line. Be careful.
No.
Okay. So yeah, Suman Awasi, who's been good, he says it's very humid in Pune, and it's a day-night game. It'll be significant. So how many? Is there one or two day-night games? I'm not sure. It's going to be a long night. Oh my heavens! There'll be great matches. I think India will be a lot freer in the ODIs because why? There's nothing at stake in terms of a World Cup around the corner, nor will it affect the T20 format. They can bat with a lot more gay abandon, and they'll actually attack more. And I actually think that you'll find that the scores will be quite high. And I think the Sharmas and that will have a good old dig. You may see a lot of the younger guys coming through again because there is no 50 over World Cup at the moment. Right. I think we'll see a little bit more freedom with the way they're playing. And I think England also will be quite kind of free. And Owen Morgan needs to find some form because this is where the mistakes have been with England. Some of their selections have certainly been wrong, but England have not batted Owen Morgan high enough earlier on to give him an opportunity. Maybe he wasn't needed to do so, but when it came to the crunch today, he didn't perform that well. So that's a significant point. And Owen Morgan needs to experiment with the toss in terms of batting first and letting the Butlers and the Roys and Milans go and be the best in the world as they say they are. That's their crucial key. Again, the top three batters are the most important. I'm just so happy that Virat Kohli opened the batting. I'm so happy. And it's not a matter of bragging, but I did talk about that, didn't I?
You did. And then we predicted so many things that came right. KL, the score Nataraj, Rohit and Kohli doing very well. Yeah.
And the good thing is that we've got Chris online to counter that with some.
Is he still here? Is he still on in the chat?
See, Chris was very level-headed, and when you're sometimes sensible,
the sense comes in at some point.
Now, there's a lot of sensibility what he says. It may be slightly England-centric, but he is very sensible what he says. And there were some cases where it really was needed. My jokings of Rohit Sharma early in the series, I'm afraid it paid off. He scored a 161, and today's batting effort, the guy is gold, absolute gold. And his IPL record lately wasn't that good. Well, first of all, it was in the UAE, so I mean,
different conditions.
Let's not even compare that. Those pitches they're just roads in most cases.
Amateur.
Well, no, I wouldn't say amateur. They're not amateur, but they're not normal test conditions in those countries. And look, the UAE is particularly good. They've helped cricket immensely. They've taken on the role with the ICC. They've taken on the role of a lot of high performance camps. You get to play cricket there when other countries are unable to due to weather and climate.
Yep.
The UAE are extremely important. They've helped out the likes of their country as well as players to go to Oman and other Middle Eastern and other subcontinent countries. They've got the Asia Cup, which they're running, which was based in Sri Lanka, the headquarters, but was also from the UAE. They've got teams all over that area. There's the Maldives, the awesome. Bhutans, the Thailands, even the Malaysias, the Singapores, the Omans. It's just these countries is where cricket's future is because again, a lot of Indian expats, a lot of Pakistani, Sri Lanka expats go to work and they get the chance to. Actually, Oman's a great country. 3 out of the 4 million are expats, and they're proving it by the way that they go about their cricket. They're now a nation to reckon with. Dilip Mendes is their coach, a good friend of mine. I visited him there, and it was just a stupid. What a chilled out place Oman is. Oh, it's got everything it's got everything that Dubai's got without the over the top attitude. If that makes sense.
Drive. I've driven from Dubai to Oman. That's beautiful drive.
Quite a drive. That is quite a drive. It's quite an area. All right, guys, you've still got an opportunity. We're still well under 2 hours. So, do you think Varun Chakravarti will be a good prospect for the India World Cup 2021? Whom will replace him? Look, he's another player not unlike the Ishan Kishans and the Skies and a whole bevy of others. There's other Pritapal, I think, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. They are all in the mix. They can't put the whole team in there. But if they perform in the IPL, they'll probably maybe brought into the squad. I think Shikhar Dhawan's days are finished.
Interesting.
And out of respect to them, they put him in because of his T20 record previously. But I think he's there and thereabouts, but he probably won't be in the squad from now on. Rahul, well, bit early to say yet. He's still in the mix. His IPL form will be important. He'll be in the squad, no doubt. But whether he makes the side, well, that's going to be interesting. I'm not knocking him. He's still, if he plays every skin in the IPL, he demands to be put back in.
Yes.
But they may have to think about the opening partner for Rohit Sharma, and the world will be scared because they know that at any time Virat can just say, "Okay, I'm going out there," and that should put the fear up anyway.
So for the World Cup, how many fast bowlers do you think India needs? 2 are enough, or two?
I
Two
think
are
that's. They might. I think two
Bumrah
looks like.
and Shami, if he's fit.
Or Bhuvi can also be there. Shardul Thakur's making a real presence. It's going to be hard, and it depends on the fitness levels of Shami and Bumrah. Even though it's a fair few months away, we can't say conclusively how fit they're going to be. The broken arm of Shami is going to seems to take a hell of a lot longer.
Wow.
Jadeja has also been injured as well. They're both broken bone related, but I think Jai had a string of other injuries. The injury to Bumrah worries me the most. Why? Because sometimes when a bowler has an injury of a certain type, they can recover, but not recover to their full bowling ability, or may not be able to stretch. And Bumrah's bowling action, this incredible slingshot effort of his arm, so late the piece, there's only so long a body can take that on. And I think you might find him struggling. He may have to consider what format he wants to continue on in the long run. The same goes for who was the other player we're talking about that's in that same boat. He's not playing for India. I can't think of the name. His name has gone. That's based on injury. Jofra Archer.
Oh yeah.
Jofra Archer and both he and Bumrah and Mark Wood. Those three, their bowling styles. Now your typical traditionalists will say they've got to change their action and everything. Well, you can't change perfection in terms of ability, but what you can change is the volume they play. And those three players are going to have to be managed very well because they are significant to the sides they're playing, and they're going to have to be treated with great deal of cotton wool caution. And I thought it was funny how Chris knocked that comment and said that I didn't want him to play. I didn't say that Hardik Pandya shouldn't that he was really left out.
No, he wasn't held back. He had an injury, and they know what he's capable of, and they completely backed him.
Well, you have to begin to wonder sometimes when you see a player never play, how long are they going to keep him under cotton wool? But clearly they had managed his body very well. So the people are saying sleep, Norman, sleep. Indian Membaswala, now he's normally on all the time, and he's saying goodbye. So he's our best gauge of how long. I think Indian Membaswala has been probably on since the beginning. Some of you've got Bumrah bowl at 153 full claim bowl showing the last Australian tour. Yeah, he did.
I mean, I know we all said 2-1, but do you think it's possible to have a 3-0 India? Possible.
I don't think so. Why? Because it just seems that they put all their effort into their games to count, and they generally take it a little bit easier. There's in rugby league circles in Australia, which is not cricket, I know. Wayne Bennett, who's a very famous coach, says slowly build up to your best because your most important game is the last, not the first.
I like that.
That's extremely. Whereas Chris has been on for an hour outdoor films. He left. He had to go to a dinner. He said his initial words were he would only be on for 15 minutes. He was on for an hour. The best bench, Norman, Boba Fett. My third time asking this question. I'm sorry. The best bench. This is not a rugby game. The bench doesn't come on during the game, but the best bench. I mean, India, by far.
I think so.
They got
on
more
paper, for sure.
They haven't got a bench. Haven't got a bench. They've got teams. Bench implies
they have India A, India B, India. They have 3 benches.
So Rajesh Ashwath is asking you, do you want Kohli and Virat Open in the World Cup as well?
Yes, why not? Yeah, I like.
Not,
I mean, you can also have a Rishabh Kishan Open. I'd be down for that too. I'm like, mix it up, get dynamic, go aggressive from the get go. Because hey, you only have 20 overs. What are you waiting for? This is not a 5 day test game.
it's
The overs
unfortunately going
go
to be
very
wrong.
quickly.
You can't open with Sharma and Kohli every game,
No,
because eventually they'll fail. Not only fail, but the other teams will start working that out and will be planning better for that. I think there was an element of surprise with Kohli coming in
yes,
today to open, and now they're going to have to factor into all their calculations
they have to
which
be
way they're going.
measured. I think if it's really crucial, if you think you want to, and yeah, as a surprise element. The
All right,
good thing is that
okay.
they know that they can, and they must
Well,
exercise it once in a while.
I think we're going to have to leave this now. I think I've got some. It's now in Australia. It is what time is it? It is 7 a.m. and there's a certain responsibility I have to do at that time. We've been on well over 2 hours, guys. Guys, anyone that is making comments that we haven't got to, we apologise. We've only been able to get to so many. You have got the opportunity to see me tomorrow night at 10:30 my time, which is 5 p.m. India time. We'll go ahead again with more discussion on this match. We'll have a full review of the whole series. We'll leave it to that for now. Thank you, Pretty. We'll thank obviously Chris. Who else do we have online? We had a bunch of people. We had Debash Sen. We had Merv at certain stage with Simon Willis. We had Debash already mentioned. There's been a whole host of people that have been on this. Also, Aparna. They've all been on with their cricket conversations with Aparna and Norman Kochnik's eyes on cricket with Norman Kochnik. Pretty's with the Pretty Effect. You can see our Twitter and other handles there, Norman Kochnik and the Pretty Effect. Please comment there. I can continue to talk to you offline over time. So this is Norman Kochnik saying, please view, like, and share all the posts. Namaste.
Namaste.
Subscribe. Join as members. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more to come up, guys. I know there's a lot of you still online. Talk to us offline if you want to. We're there to be talked to. Join. See the join button. See the subscription button. See the notification button. See the membership button. And more. There's a store there as well. There's a lot to go by. There's a super sticker you can do as well. And super stickers will bring this to your attention. Have a wonderful day, guys. This is Norman Kochnik and Pretty Apala signing off. Goodbye.
Bye. Love you guys. Bye.